Of everything.
Everything, yeah.
So let's say, yeah, that's a good definition. So nothingness is the absence of everything. So anything you can imagine, anything that you can see, observe, measure, whatever, is the absence of all of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the something is the opposite of nothing.
Yeah.
You see, do you agree?
Yeah.
Now I believe the universe is something.
Yeah.
Because we know it, we can experience this, yeah? We know it exists. But would you say nothingness exists? Or is it a concept?
It's a concept.
It's a concept, okay. Similar to numbers, numbers are abstract, yes? If I were to tell you, show me the number 1 or number 2, you can show me an object which is 1, an object which is 2, so you can say 1 orange or 1 apple or 2 apples. These are the way we count. However, the numbers themselves, which are again up to infinity, and we don't know what's the last number, we can say that this is an abstract concept that we have to work around because this is the language that we use in counting and understanding the world around us.
Yeah.
Similarly, nothingness is one of those concepts which we use to understand the world around us. But it doesn't exist in reality. Okay, but the universe does exist. So now, once again, now that we have narrowed down the understanding and the definition of these terms, if I were to ask you, can nothing, which doesn't even exist, cause something which does exist, like the universe? What would your answer be?
I mean, I'm 90% on the board, but why I'm leaving a chance is that there is, I mean, black hole was supposed to be nothing, and then there is so much in there.
Black hole was there. They didn't understand what it was.
It's something.
Yes,
It was always there. It has this immense, gravitational pull and so on. So there were certain, characteristics of the black hole, which they already knew about once they discovered it.
Yeah.
Okay, but no one would call that nothing.
Okay.
See what I mean?
Okay, yeah. And then I agree.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what do you agree? Can nothing cause something, or
No.
it cannot? Good. So you see, it's we can use logic, we can use deductive rationality here, deductive reasoning, in order to come to a conclusion. Yes. Obviously, we haven't lived during the time of the Big Bang, or when these things started coming into existence. From what the scientists tell us, like how many billion? 14 billion, 13.8 billion years ago. Yes, the Big Bang happened and so on. Now they even give the time of when this happened. This is based on certain factors again, like whatever radioactive material was out there or waves were there. They have reasoning to believe that this is how old it was because of so and so reasons.
Okay.
So they do give an origin to us. So we know for a fact nothing did not create it because nothing doesn't even exist. So something must have created it because it had an origin. It had a beginning. And even today, if you look at the universe, it is expanding. Yes? Again, they can see this by the distance of the stars, how they are increasing every year.
But there is that hypothesis, right? It always existed and will always exist.
Okay, so that's one hypothesis, that the universe always existed, right? Okay. At least we have come to an understanding mutually here that in the past...
No, I also think Big Bang theory is most likely.
Yeah.
But, I mean, just to keep that theory
Yeah,
out
sure.
there, yeah.
But we can entertain and explore all of this possible and see which one's most rational to accept.
Okay.
So there is a possibility that something always existed, and that possibility is because, not a possibility actually, there has to be something that always exists.
Yeah.
Because if something exists now, there cannot be a time in the past where there's absolute nothingness. Because absolute nothingness, we agreed, cannot make anything, cannot do anything. So there was always something, has to be, because you can't suddenly have nothing and then something comes.
Yeah.
So something always existed. So either, we are now going to narrow it down, either our universe always existed in whatever form it has been in the past, or the one that originated the universe, the one which brought this universe into existence, always existed.
Yeah.
So either way, we have an entity that is going to be eternal with no beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. As believers, we say this is the creator, the originator.
Yeah.
Okay? If it was this universe itself, then we can ask this question, as you said, this one possibility. It must possess inherently certain attributes because it was always existent. Nothing brought this eternal thing, the universe, into existence. It was always there. If it was always there, it must exist with its inherent properties and attributes. So having properties of Energy?
Gravity.
Energy must be. That's what everything revolves around. Any actions you need to do, you have to have energy. But I have a question here though. Things are transforming within this universe. Transformation requires certain things, and this is what I want you to explore. If something transforms into something differently, is this happening by a conscious design, or it just happens without any intent, without any intention, without any will? To give you an example, if, for example, our universe formed in the way it is now,
You're asking me
is this
if there
with an
a-
intent, or it just happened, it just follows an universal law? But again, the question would be, whose law? What law? Who originated this? Do you see the problem? Always it's going to be a case where there has to be an originator with an intent to transform things. To make a cup of tea or a coffee, do you know how much intention and willpower and energy is required? You can have your kitchen, and you can have the teapot, and you can have the sink, and you can have the water, you can have the tea, sugar, milk, fridge, and it's all there. You can stand in front of the kitchen, it will never happen. A tea will never be made unless you go there and collect all these things in a particular proportion and make it. If you don't boil the water somehow, if you don't take the milk out of your fridge, if you don't take the tea bag and put it, a tea or a coffee will never be made, because this intent, this willingness has to be on place.
It requires a will, yeah.
Yeah? So this universe, to have all this transformation, the way we see this precise engineering of the things, the water defies gravity and goes up the tree. Gravity tells you to bring everything down. But how does it do that? Because of capillary suction, capillary mechanism. There's engineering and precision there. These things cannot just simply be attributed to no designer.
Why not?
Then you're saying things just happen.
Yeah.
Just that.
Why
So,
not?
for example, now I can take my microphone there and then just throw it in a garbage room somewhere, and then go back and collect an iPhone. It just transforms into an iPhone. Why not?
I mean,
Transformation of matter.
How we know universe works is just probably 1% or 0.5%, right? Maybe there is a place where you throw microphone and it becomes iPhone.
Where have you seen anything
Have you
happening
been
like
watching
that?
Transformers?
Where,
No,
where,
I'm
where have you
saying-
seen anything like this happening? You just
No,
throw
that's
in
what
a
I'm
junkyard,
saying.
you throw in a junkyard.
You think you understand universe, but we don't.
No.
I'm saying
to,
we don't
to
understand.
affirm.
Maybe there is a
Okay,
a parallel universe.
let's simplify this. Okay, so you're saying the universe could have always
Let's not
existed?
Simplify this.
No, but you,
Why
but-
are we simplifying
No, but
universe?
that's what you meant when you said that it always existed. You see, if you use the laws of physics itself, the reason this model of cyclic universe, you know, there are many people who believe this, is one of the least accepted by the scientists, because they give a scientific reasoning for that. Do you know what the scientific reasoning is? for
But
this?
you can't quote science when you want, and when you can't quote religion when you want.
No, no,
right?
I'm using
Stick to
science.
one.
In fact, in both cases, I use science. In the earlier case, for the origin of the universe, I use science, which is the deductive reasoning, which is quite a scientific method, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
and
of
in
course.
this, I'm going to use another law of physics, which is the law of, for example, when you have something in a stable state, and then it gradually decreases, yes, and becomes, in a way, unstable, yes, this is one of the laws of physics, yes, it's called entropy. Now they say that the reason you cannot have cyclic universe one after the other from eternity is because of the law of entropy, which is, I believe, the second law of thermodynamics. It can only have X number of cycles before it completely stops going through that cycle. So it cannot be eternal for that reason. Okay? Now, if you have another reason, because you cannot just say, oh, we don't understand, so this is a possibility. Because that is just basically shooting in the dark without any reasoning or science itself. You see what I mean? Otherwise, I can say, oh, pink elephant can exist with wings. You know, where does this stop?
I mean,
This
yeah.
imagination of human
Why?
beings, it's so vast. It doesn't stop, you know, like you will start believing anything and everything then. But what we go based is
There
on.
was a time when people would have laughed at theory of time travel, right? but now we know in theory it can exist.
Yeah, but it's still a theory, right?
Yeah.
You cannot have time travel until there is a time travel,
Yeah, but there
which
is
does
a
happen.
precise process of it, right? It can happen in this, if this happens,
and,
this happens.
and if it happens, look, if it happens, then there is a reason and there is a law which makes it possible for it to happen. I'm not saying it's completely, what do you say, impossible, but what I'm saying is,
let's make it a bit fun
Yeah.
here. So if someone traveled back in time and they killed their own grandparents, what's going to happen?
back to the future.
That's probably very philosophical. I mean,
Well, it's not really.
Logistics, yeah,
Everyone goes to the
logistics.
future because they discuss this.
yeah, paradoxes.
There are lots of paradoxes in time travel. Until
Yeah.
we sort out all of this, I mean, time travel is not happening anytime soon.
No, what I'm saying
But we are not
is,
saying, look, we are not saying it's impossible. What we
Yeah.
are saying is that, look, there are certain things which are impossible. Like for something to exist from nothing, it's impossible. You see what I mean? As we discussed earlier. Now, as Mansoor was saying earlier, that in order for something to cause something else, it requires intelligence, it requires a will, it requires power, it requires energy. It requires a lot of things that we know that without these things, you cannot even make a cup of tea.
I mean, there could be 2-3 happy coincidences along the way. Why not?
No,
You see,
coincidence
coincidences
for
have limits.
Yeah.
When we say coincidence, yes, by coincidence, a cup of tea may be made in a 1 zillion years' time.
Yeah.
This happens, right?
Yeah.
But practically speaking, you wouldn't buy that story because you know this will never happen. This is just some way of
Why
just.
not? I mean, universe existed for that long, so it could be so many coincidences, so many trial and errors.
This is not a trial and error. This is just leaving to its own self to rearrange the matter by itself. When
But how do you know that?
no, how do we know is when we look at probability of probabilistic things, how do we determine something is probable and possible?
Yeah.
There are ways we can measure that. For example, what is the probability of you turning into a potato?
I mean, you're saying probability of
No offense intended,
things.
by the way.
Yeah, no. Probability of things that you see around,
Yeah.
and things that universe does.
By
is
the way, Jains
very
don't eat
different.
potatoes either. Do you know that?
Who?
Jains don't eat potatoes.
Yeah.
They don't eat
So-
anything that grows under the earth. Is
Yeah.
that right? Onions, potatoes.
Yeah. I do, but Jain
I know
likes
she's
to-
not a Jain.
Yeah.
Just in,
Yeah.
Just for
So what is the
FYI.
probability of you turning into one of these vegetables?
Maybe 0.
Yeah. Do you know why you say 0?
Because, I mean, you are still seeing everything from the logic and laws of what's happening in the world, right? What I'm trying to convey is that there may be things that beyond,
But
there may
aren't
be
you-
still laws to be discovered.
I agree. We don't know everything, but you cannot, or rather, we cannot allude to
don't
something
know
called
everything,
magic.
then why
Otherwise,
to specify
otherwise,
that
otherwise,
it's
what I understand from your perspective is, we're appealing to magic. There's an element of magic there. It can happen by magic.
Yeah.
That's not something that. Yeah. So you see, this is not a very strong position to take when you are critical in thinking, because by magic you can say, you know what,
anything
I
is
might
possible.
just turn into a Superman and I have wings, I can fly and so on. These are all
Maybe I do in a parallel universe.
yeah. But in this universe,
exist?
in this universe, as you know, we are bound by these limitations. We can imagine things, but it doesn't mean it's going to materialize into reality. That is why when we look at this universe, we see the universe itself, when it's transforming into something else, it has to be either itself is conscious of itself, it possesses some kind of knowledge and will or intent.
It is conscious of itself because we
Is it?
exist. We are universe, right?
Okay, I think that's a good point to introduce this topic about life and just material.
I am also part of universe and I am
Yeah, of course.
conscious. So
Yeah.
universe is
I know you're
conscious.
conscious, but the question is, can something which doesn't possess life, which doesn't have the ability to have consciousness, give
Does it
life to
have-
something that does have life and consciousness? Life, non-life to life, non-consciousness to consciousness. Is that possibility?
I mean, that's how it happened, right, in theory of evolution.
Well, in theory, you could imagine anything, you know? Like Mansoor said, it could be magic. So you're going to believe in magic now?
It is based on evidences.
Say again?
It is based on evidences, right? I mean,
What's based on
it's
evidence?
hypothesis turned into theory. Theory is based on pretty much a
So
lot of evidence.
even the scientists, they will not tell you the origin. So if you study things like...
So this is what I mean. Now you don't believe science because...
no, I'm talking about science itself. So science...
Partly you believe, partly you don't.
Yeah, science will explain to you how things work. They will rarely tell you how things originated. So if you go into the single cell study of biogenetics,
Why is it bad to say that I don't know how we... Why is it
look,
bad?
if you can keep saying I don't know, but that doesn't really answer any question, does it?
Why
it
should
only
we I mean, how
Yeah.
is it affecting me not knowing? I am
it's
working day
so
to day.
I'll tell you how it affects you. You know, as Muslims, and there are many beliefs out there who do believe in an afterlife.
Okay.
Yes. So imagine, I mean not imagine. I think this is something everyone will agree that one day we will die, right? Whether you're an atheist, agnostic, believer in God, non-believer, whatever your ideology is, one day we're going to die.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you believe there's going to be an afterlife after that, or we just become dust? What do you believe?
Become less.
We become dust. Now, why do you believe that with certainty?
Not certain.
Do you think there's a possibility that there is an
Yeah,
afterlife?
there is. Yeah.
There is. Okay.
Yeah.
If there is,
Probability is that
Okay.
I become just dust.
very good. So, if we all just turn to dust, then neither you nor I have lost anything. You see what I mean? Because we're going to be dust, right? That's the end of our story.
Yeah.
Yes? Now flip the coin and ask yourself, because you said there is a probability of there being an afterlife, and if there is an afterlife, then obviously there's God. You see, there's some divine intelligence out there who would actually take us to account for our life in this temporary world. Okay? So what have you prepared for that probability or possibility of there being an afterlife? Who's taking the bigger risk? The one who has prepared for it and the one who has not prepared for it. Because like I said, if there is no afterlife, if we all turn to dust or ash or whatever it is, then no one has really lost or gained anything. Yes? You have not really afterlife because you don't believe in it, and whatever you don't, I mean, ultimately if there's the reality that there's nothing after life, then no one has really lost. But then comes when you flip the coin, then you are the one taking the bigger risk here, isn't it?
Because you risk in which sense?
Risk in the sense that you have stopped believing in God. And if you stop believing in God, then there might be things that you do which are against what God wanted you to do in this world. You remember earlier you said that you don't like being told what to do. Yes, by a book. And that is precisely the reason I'm bringing this point up, because that book could be your guidance to your life in this world, how to lead a normal, holistic and moral life,
No, I think
which is not only good for you, but good for...
our instincts and our feelings to tell us what to do.
Yeah, but we already agreed that can be wrong.
That can be wrong because you could be conditioned otherwise. Else
What do you
it
mean?
couldn't be wrong.
No, if God gives you instructions, yes, God, by definition, God is the one who created us. So if He's a creator, for example, if I were to tell you that that phone you have in your pocket is something the manufacturer gives you a guidebook, and there is another book out there which tells you to do something which is against what the manufacturer has recommended, then which one would you believe in? Which one would you consider to be credible? The one that is originally stating that we are the ones who created the phone?
Which is serving me?
Yeah. Which is serving?
Me.
You.
Yeah.
Your phone, you mean?
No, I mean, which book serves me, I would believe.
Okay, so let's say the phone says it's not waterproof. Another book says your phone is waterproof. But the one that is saying not waterproof is the one which manufactured your phone.
How do you know that?
Does the manufacturer say so? He's the one. The company knows what it created, right? So it knows its its limitations.
How do you know? I mean, in terms of religion, I'm saying. How do you know?
So when it comes to religion, how do we know? Is
Is the
when we
manufacturer.
see
Yeah.
the evidence and proof embedded within that religion itself. So for example, in Islam, it comes with its evidence and proof so that we don't have that uncertainty or doubt that it's not the truth.
But
So the
why
Quran
are you
provides
so
the
scared
Quran.
of uncertainty. I mean, it's sounding like a coping mechanism right now too.
It's not scared. It's like I
You
said,
see-
if you're taking the bigger risk by not knowing about the afterlife, and if you
what
live
I'm doing wrong then?
what you're doing wrong, you might not know. For example, earlier, there are many things which you stated, which I had to correct you. Like you stated, look, all wars are wrong. Yes? And then I had to correct you. So
I
if,
mean, I would still not
so if you were
be
the-
participated
imagine-
in anymore.
imagine this, if you were the president of a country and you went along with what you thought was right, that means no wars at all. So I'm going to undo with my army, with my arsenal, with my military powers, and with the information and the knowledge that had been accumulated by the previous presidents, then you are ultimately wrong, isn't it? Because you're going to go based on trial and error. You're going to trial out all these things which you believe personally or subjectively to be right. But then
No,
you will...
even evidently. I mean, even
Say again?
Even with the evidence, I would check, right? I mean,
No,
in
but the
past,
evidence you have, the evidence you have might be supporting your subjective view. But when it comes into practicing it, you realize that you have made an error. So you will always go based on trial and error. And the reason that is wrong for bigger things, at least like wars, decision in these things, then you will actually not only harm your own self, your country and your countrymen, but a lot of people because of that subjective view of yours.
Okay, I agree, but I don't think even religion is telling right thing to people.
Now,
For
give me an example.
example, homosexuality is wrong. No, I don't think so.
Okay, so
Misogyny.
do you believe homosexuality is right?
Yeah.
You believe it's right?
Yeah.
So it's okay for example, a mother and her son to have, a mother and a mother and the daughter.
What
or
is
the-
homosexuality?
Homosexuality is two same-gendered people.
Same-gendered people.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so
incest,
so
what
your
you're saying
so your example should
Yeah.
be not mother and son.
Well,
mother
that
and
is also
daughter-
same gender. Mother
make-
and father. Sorry,
Mother and daughter.
son and the father
Yeah.
are same gender.
No,
So it can
it's-
be both incest, it can be homosexual.
So incest
Both
is
of
just
them
another
come
label, but
into-
the concept is
Incest is not just another label; it's whole new concept.
no.
Let's
Let
do
me
homosexuality.
clarify. Homosexuality is when you have the same gender having sexual relationship.
whether
I just
related or
think it's
unrelated.
not my business.
No,
I
no,
think
no, no,
it's
no.
their right.
When you say it's right or wrong question, look, if people want to practice and they want to have sexual relationship with a tree or a beast, that's their
No,
prerogative.
that's- no.
I'm saying that's their
No,
prerogative.
It's not.
It's not?
No,
So are you
it's
going to
not.
restrict their freedom and their choice
No,
and the
it-
sexual orientation?
Their choice shouldn't come at the expense of others. They can't go on raping
No, but what if
animals.
it's consensual?
So if they
How,
want to
how
have
do you know consent of an animal?
Not animal. Let me give you an example of incest where it's consensual. Would you be okay with that?
No, let's talk about homosexuality, right? I mean, why
Yeah.
does every
So let's
homosexual
define homosexuality
goes to
first. I think
incest
we are
with
missing the
religion?
definition.
So
first.
you're saying homosexuality is
It's
right?
right, yeah.
Okay, then why you're saying incest is wrong?
I'm not saying incest is wrong.
So you think it's right?
Personally, it's very disgusting, but
No. Would you
I
consider?
know the countries.
Would you,
I know
if
the
you were,
states where it is
let's say, if
illegal.
you were the president of a country, would you allow it? Incest. Even though there is consent and there is no harm between, let's say, the father and the son or the mother and the daughter. There is no harm even to have children because it's same sex. But it's incest still. Would you allow it? No one is getting hurt. They're doing it by their own choice and they say they love each other.
Yeah,
You would allow it.
yeah.
So you would have no problem.
Yeah, I mean, I personally wouldn't do it, but I am.
Why would you not do it?
Because,
That's personal choice.
yeah, it's personal choice.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, I can be supportive of something and not choose that for myself.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. The reason you took so long thinking about it,
Because it's conditioning, right? You feel it's
yeah,
disgusting.
because it is disgusting, is it not?
No, that's
For a
you're
mother and
absolutely
for a
Well,
mother
let's
and
leave
daughter
the-
and the father and the son to have sex, is it not disgusting? The reason even this society doesn't allow, which I think the United Kingdom is quite progressive, yes, or any of the European countries, I think.
It
The
is
reason they
legal
don't
in
allow-
many US states, though.
Yeah, I mean, talk about pornography. Yes, do you think it harms people?
Yeah,
It does, isn't it?
Yeah.
But many people in this country allow it. It's legal.
yeah.
Yes? Why is it legal? Because again, your subjective understanding is not the same as that of a particular society. Yes, you might come from an Eastern country which finds it abhorrent, and I agree with you. You know,
Yeah,
it is abhorrent.
That's why there are platforms for discussion, and then
Yeah.
that's
so,
basic of
so
democracy.
you see,
like.
this is where objective and subjective comes into play again,
Yeah.
because every society and every
I mean,
country.
let things get complicated. Why?
No, you can't. You can't just
Why?
let everything run the way it is.
Why?
Because you see, there are many people who get affected. For example,